The world could go to war over it, and it's not gold, oil, or land we're talking about. It's water. A quarter of the world's population faces a looming water crisis. The human population has risen, so the demand for water has increased, and at the same time, the climate crisis is threatening our water sources. It's predicted that water wars could break out in the near future. Here are 3 disputes over the control of water which could turn into conflicts. India versus Pakistan. The trouble is over the Indus Basin, which has been disputed since the partition of India and Pakistan in 1947. In 1960, the 2 countries signed a water treaty brokered by the World Bank. The eastern rivers were given to India and the western rivers to Pakistan. It sounds like a fair split, but the treaty doesn't restrict water consumed from either river by any country if it's used for irrigation or electricity generation. So in the last 4 years, India has fast-tracked a $15 billion hydropower project in Kashmir, where the western rivers run through, and Pakistan isn't happy about it. It says India is limiting the flow of rivers across the border, and Pakistan relies on the water for agriculture. India even threatened to restrict the flow of water to Pakistan after the Pulwama attack in 2019.
The Prime Minister told officials at this big meeting today that blood and water cannot flow together.
In a stern message to Pakistan, New Delhi has decided to stop the flow of its share of water to Pakistan.
Israel versus Palestine. Israel occupied the West Bank in 1967, and since then it has restricted Palestinians from developing their own water infrastructure by forcing them to apply for permits, which are almost impossible to obtain. So this means that Palestinians have become dependent on Israel for water. And water has become scarce in the West Bank when it really shouldn't be. Palestinians have been denied access to the River Jordan and are only given access to 17% of a mountain aquifer in the region, while Israel takes 77%. On average, Israelis use 4 times the amount of water that Palestinians use. But that's not where it ends. The water supply controlled by Israeli companies is often cut for weeks at a time, and Palestinians are forced to purchase expensive water.
A lack of water could literally be a reason why it's been so hard to dampen the fiery relationship between Israel and Palestine.
There are serious violations of international law that are being committed by the restrictions that are being imposed on the access to water, which the Palestinians say face.
Egypt versus Ethiopia and Sudan. The Nile may be synonymous with Egypt, but it actually runs through 11 African countries. A 1929 and 1959 treaty was signed by the United Kingdom, Egypt and Sudan, but the other countries in the region were not included. It gave 75% of the river to Egypt and the remaining 25% to Sudan. But in 2011, Ethiopia decided it was time for it to get a piece of the pie, and the country initiated a $4.8 billion dam project. Once finished in 2022, it will be the largest dam in Africa and could transform Ethiopia into a major energy export hub. But the problem is the new project is going to restrict the flow of water to Egypt. 97% of all water in Egypt comes from the Nile, and Egypt says it already has a 10 billion kilolitres water deficit.
It was a shock for Cairo when Ethiopia announced they would be building the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, or GERD, in early 2011.
The Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam project almost finished. Is Egypt heading for a water crisis?